but it almost looks like you're floating there on that water. I could keep on talking about the 49ers position battles right now. We're moving on to edge rusher. This is Croatia. That is DUBROVNIK. You could see the cable car, which took us all the way up here. That's the Game of Thrones city. Did a video walking around yesterday. I promised you guys that we would get up on top of the walls. Well, I think that I one-upped us. We're now about 1,300 feet. We're an Empire State Building height above the very blue water of Croatia. That is the Adriatic Sea. We're going to be getting on a boat moving toward the south not too long from now. All right, so position battles for the 49ers. The ones that aren't position battles, I mentioned Mac Jones. Everybody seems to want to unseat Mac Jones before training camp even starts. Tanner Mordecai is not going to beat out Mac Jones for quarterback 2. The 49ers signed Mac at, somewhere between $4 and $6 million per year. They signed Mac to be the QB2. He's going to figure things out. You don't expect him to be perfect during OTAs. So yeah, he threw a few balls high during OTAs. He's going to be a fine backup in this league. I don't think that Mac Jones is a great quarterback. I think that he's a QB2 in the NFL. I think he can become a serviceable QB2 in the NFL. And I think the 49ers are very, very excited to have him at that position. You know who else's job is not in jeopardy? And this is going to make some 49ers fans upset, but Jake Brendel. It's going to be the starting center for this team. It's time for people to accept that. Matt Hennessy is not going to come in and win the center job when Kyle Shanahan is talking about him potentially competing at guard. He's mentioning a different position than center. Somebody like Nick Zakelj, okay, maybe this is the year that he can truly establish himself as the center of the future, but I think that's an uphill battle. It might be as steep as the hill to get up here to this viewpoint, because when you look at Nick Zakelj, he was also competing at guard this last season. And he pass protected very well to end the season, but I do not think that Jake Brendel's spot is in any sort of danger for the 49ers. They actually believe that he's been playing a lot better football than the outside world is giving him credit for. And it's really hard to evaluate offensive linemen in the context of any scheme, because there's going to be different requirements of every single scheme around the NFL. So PFF is going to have one set of grading, but the 49ers and Chris Foerster are going to have another set of grading. I don't think that Brendel's been as good as Chris Foerster says he's been, but I don't think he's been as bad as social media has alleged that he has been. And then the cornerback position. People saw Renardo Green get beaten a couple times over the course of OTAs on deep passes and are suddenly saying that, oh, Renardo Green, 49ers are going to need a improve cornerback 2 opposite Deommodore Lenoir. And it's like, guys, this is a press coverage cornerback. He's not allowed to press during OTAs. You can't get physical during OTAs, or you could get Kyle Shanahan fined $100,000. That's what Deommodore Lenoir did during rookie minicamp. Literally got Kyle fined back in 2021. But he got out of the doghouse, he got a contract, and Demo should be a Pro Bowler at this point. But Renardo Green is at a disadvantage. All corners are at disadvantages during OTAs. And just because Demarcus Robinson beat on a play that was very well videotaped by the 49ers social media department did not mean that San Francisco needs another corner. We also do not need another view. I think for a lot of this video, as we talk about the 49ers top 5 position battles, I don't even have to be on camera. This is one of the most spectacular places I've ever been. You know, the city walls around DUBROVNIK, that's my Eastern European Czech pronunciation. Those city walls might have a nice view, but it's also 90 to 95 degrees down there. And we're up here, we've got some wind, but we've got the really good microphone that is allowing us to capture this in all of its beauty. So we're gonna go through 49ers position battles. The first one that actually exists, wide receiver. And at its very core, the fundamental center of this position battle, it is Jacob Cowing, second-year man out of Arizona, against Jordan Watkins, the rookie out of Ole Miss. Two very similar types of receivers. Speedsters, excellent burst off the line for both of these guys, but they're not quite as big. Now, I think that Watkins, watching him at OTAs, was much bigger than I expected. Jacob Cowing, nobody's ever said that this is a big receiver. Last year, he was too small. Last year, he weighed 168 pounds. So no matter how good the burst was for Jacob Cowing coming off the line of scrimmage, he needed to add more muscle, which he has added, and that's why he's getting all the hype this offseason. So I think there's a specific role that is going to come down to a competition, assuming everybody is healthy, between Jacob Cowing and Jordan Watkins. I think that it's going to be hard to have both of those guys on the field at the same time, barring injuries for the 49ers. Now, there's another subset of a receiving battle for San Francisco between Isaiah Neyor and Tariq Owens. These are your bigger receivers. Neyor is 6'4", 218 pounds. Tariq Owens is almost his dad's size. He's 6'3", and former basketball player coming in for the 49ers. These bigger bodied types, both of them have all the athletic ability in the world, but both of them are still raw prospects that the 49ers are going to have to develop into receivers who don't drop the ball as much, who are polished within their routes, who improve the nuances of their route running. The reason that we say, though, that there's open battle at the receiver position is because there will be opportunity for some of these guys. I mean, you look at the fact that Demarcus Robinson might be suspended, down from the town yesterday. I talked about Brandon Ayuk and his ACL recovery for the 49ers. I mean, there could be spots here for rookies to grab the 49ers receiving positions when this regular season starts, or at least when the preseason starts. And once you start doing stuff in preseason games, you've got a good chance to establish yourself as a member of the 53-man roster. And something that all NFL players need at some point, but only few take advantage of, is an opportunity. Then there's the swing tackle battle for San Francisco. People need to consider Spencer Burford the favorite until he's unseated. Why? Because Spencer Burford, even though he started his 49ers career as a guard, finished last season as a swing tackle. And I thought that he played better at tackle than he did at guard. Now, he was a tackle in college at the University of Texas, San Antonio. I think the 49ers completely consider Burford to be a tackle now. So they brought in Andre Dillard, who's a former first-round pick. He'd been with the Eagles. Dillard, though, probably toward the tail end of his career, was dealing with some injury issues during OTAs, so we haven't seen him yet. He should be ready for training camp. So Dillard, first-round physical talent. Can he unseat somebody like Spencer Burford, who's already established himself in the system? We'll see. And then there's somebody like Austin Pleasance. And Austin Pleasance is a player whom, I don't think people thought much of when he came in last year just to help the 49ers cross the bridge and finish the season because they had so many injuries. But they've been talking about Austin Pleasance increasing his speed substantially over the course of this offseason. Whatever he did over winter, over the elongated 49ers offseason, seemed to have worked for Austin Pleasance. Take a look at that. Look, there's a big pirate ship there. Look at all the sail. Well, I don't think the sails are up right now, but I could see all the masts on that ship. Now, that's the direction of Montenegro. That's the way that we're not going to be sailing later today. I think we're going to have a nice big engine on this boat. At least I hope so, because I think it might take a long time to get down to Montenegro. But the boating life here, and then the color of that water when you go near the old town, is something else. In fact, we're going to go and we're going to go swim. I think Margot Lombardi herself is just going to lay out. You can lay out on the rocks right outside the wall, then you could swim, or you could play water polo, which is essentially their national sport here in Croatia. Maybe I'll do a little bit of both, but it almost looks like you're floating there on that water. I could keep on talking about the 49ers position battles right now. We're moved on to edge rusher. This is a low-key underrated one because we know that the top spots are taken up. Right now, Nick Bosa, Bryce Huff is on the other side, Yetur Gross-Matos, good player. But how about that last edge rushing spot? This is probably the final opportunity for Robert Beal Jr. to truly make a name for himself with the 49ers. He's a speed rusher. They brought in Bryce Huff, who plays a similar position, lighter weight. But they also have Sam Okawanu, who joined the team last year. He was really a diamond in the rough for the 49ers. But there's only a limited amount of spots for edge rusher. Can Sam O and Robert Beal Jr. lock into a legitimate battle at the edge rusher position that determines who makes that final spot on the roster? Beal's going to have to prove he's a better run defender. Sam Okawanu is going to have to show that he's got true pass rushing pop. Sam Okawanu is a heavier player, so it's, do the 49ers go with that edge run setting presence, or do they go with another pass rushing specialist? And of course, Beal, I think, still has to prove himself in the pass rushing regard as well. But that's what training camp is going to be all about. Then there's cornerback, and this one is a little bit more complex because it's guys fighting for different positions, but they still are competing with each other because the 49ers, thanks to Deommodore Lenoir, who's so versatile, can essentially determine how they align their defensive backfield. So it's Upton Stout, the rookie out of Western Kentucky, Trey Brown, who's a veteran, a signee, was with the Seattle Seahawks, and Darrell Luter Jr., who has not really had a true opportunity to shine as a cornerback yet for the 49ers. But if Upton Stout proves himself, he's going to be the nickelback for the 49ers. If Trey Brown proves himself, and more than Upton Stout, he'll be an outside cornerback. And he actually was rated by PFF as the #1 press coverage cornerback in the whole NFL for the Seattle Seahawks 2 seasons ago. And we know that's the system that the 49ers want to run. They want to run press coverage with Robert Saleh. So Trey, if he proves himself more, gives the 49ers more comfort in his abilities than the rookie Upton Stout, the 49ers will run Trey Brown on the outside and they'll kick Lenoir inside in nickelback situations. But if it's Upton Stout who makes him more comfortable, Deommodore Lenoir can stay on the outside. And I think that's what Lenoir prefers, and I think that's what the 49ers would prefer. But obviously, a rookie, you never know. He's getting thrown in there with the Sharks. I wonder if there's sharks in this water, but he's getting thrown in there with the Sharks, and he's got to sink or swim. And we'll find out if Upton Stout is ready for that with the 49ers. Now, the big wild card here is Darrell Luter Jr., somebody who's obviously been at the core of some special teams miscues for the 49ers in big moments over the past couple of years, but he's a long, strong cornerback who I think this year really has a chance to jockey for position for San Francisco. Our marquee battle, just like this marquee view, is the linebacker spot. And that's obviously D. Winters. I don't want to say he's the incumbent because he didn't really grab that spot last year. The 49ers had Devondre Campbell until he walked out on the football team. But D. Winters has been there the longest. I think D. Winters has the very clear path to this job, but he obviously is going to be challenged by Nick Martin, who's recovering from that broken thumb, is going to be available for the 49ers come the start of training camp. He was even practicing with it during OTAs with a splint, some kind of cast on his thumb. They've compared Nick Martin to Dre Greenlaw, but in many ways I think that D. Winters can be compared to Dre Greenlaw, former safety, somebody in college at TCU, somebody who can truly cover. He's fast. So Winters against Nick Martin, with Chaz Surratt, one of Robert Saleh's favorite veterans, now aboard for the 49ers, and with somebody like Tatum Bethune also throwing his name into the ring. That's the second-year player out of Florida State. So the 49ers have a ton of unproven talented linebacker. Somebody has to emerge, somebody has to rise to the top, and somebody has to grab Dre Greenlaw's former spot next to Fred Warner. And then last but definitely not least, I said that water polo was the national sport here. They also like soccer, so they also like kicking the ball. We just saw somebody down there who was like a dad and his kid. They were out by the water, and they had a soccer ball in the water, and they were playing water polo, and then they got out and they started kicking the soccer ball around. So here in Croatia, they love soccer, so they probably love kickers. I would think they like kickers more than they do in the U.S. The 49ers have a battle at kicker. Jake Moody against Greg Joseph. Both of them made most of their kicks at OTAs and the veteran minicamp, but that doesn't determine anything. We knew that this was going to stretch into camp and the preseason games. So kicking battle is going to be happening now between Jake Moody and Greg Joseph. Those are your actual 49ers battles, including my listing of the battles that are fake, that aren't going to happen. This almost looks fake. Croatia, as seen from, I mean, we didn't even need a drone for this. We're literally just standing on top of a hill. There's Adriatic Sea, Croatia, beautiful country. Talk to you guys soon.